Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this fireside chat session at Mobile WorldCom 2024. Today we will discuss with two experts from BICS, fraud and fraud prevention at scale. And I'm really happy to introduce to you Katia and Ievgen. Please, Katia, if you could start by introducing yourself to the audience.
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to this session. It's really a pleasure. I'm Katia Gonzalez. I'm responsible for global security, transactional security at BICS. In a whole, I manage the fraud and security portfolio for BICS services. I have been doing this for 15 years now, so that's a lot. Doesn't make me younger. But we have seen a big change in how the situation has been evolving. So it's extremely exciting because it changes constantly. And well, we keep on running after the bad guys. So we'll see how we can do it better.
Very excited to have you here and an honor to introduce you to our audience. Ievgen, if you could introduce yourself.
Yes, first of all, thank you very much for having us here at the Fireside Chat. It's an amazing experience. And my name is Ievgen Martsin. I'm part of BICS for a good decade already. And mainly I was responsible for the product management activity. And with my latest role, I'm doing the cloud adoption and product digitalization at BICS, which is basically trying to build the contacts with AWS as a hyperscaler and increase our value as a company in this landscape and this ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Ievgen. My name is Katrien van Aken, and I lead the Proximus account in AWS, and BICS is part of Proximus. And I'm really excited to discuss here today with you the evolution that we see happening at scale now from telco to techco, and you're really amplifying that here. So I'm gonna kick off with you, Katia. So you made a statement in 2023 that you saved around $2.3 billion to the industry for your customers by intercepting 56 million fraud attempts. Please, can you explain a bit more about that and how you do that? What is the challenge that you solve for your customer and how do you do that?
Yeah, well, these are big numbers indeed, but BICS being a global player, we have a quite broad portfolio, and we aim at making sure that any telco service that we provide can be secured. So that makes a lot of transactions that we need to secure, look after, and well, because we have this very global picture, holistic picture of what is happening globally, we're able to look into what is happening, understand what is good activity and what is bad activity, and learn and read it properly so that we can create a good protection, a good firewall for all our other customers. So once we learn there's an attack of whichever kind ongoing, we create the right protection to prevent that from happening again. Because something that is extremely important to understand, I think most parties in the industry are kind of starting to get this, is that fraud doesn't happen once. The fraudsters, they live on this. They are smart guys and girls, probably. And when something works, they replicate it. If there's a good thing happening, why stop it? So when we see that first thing happening, we make sure that we quickly help our customers better protect. And this is how we build these big numbers, because we can bring this protection at scale.
Right, and maybe I'll let you also introduce a bit the background of BICS, the core business of BICS, and how that helps then also to create this kind of scaled new service.
Yeah, so the brief introduction of BICS is it's a company that is already on the telco and communication market for a good 20 years. And basically we provide different variety of services, starting from the global voice messaging. We also provide roaming services, IoT. And you can see it from, let's say, a platform point of view. So it used to be a very transactional type of the business where things and products and services like TrustHub is something that goes really much on top of what we used to do for our traditional business, and that creates that kind of an additional value and also new opportunities for BICS to step into more SaaS-oriented world where basically all the magical things are happening. So that's pretty much about BICS. We also have, just to give as a reference, more than 700 operators connected physically with us. We have, just as a reference as well, more than 60% of roaming traffic going through our infrastructure. And that's pretty much a scale. And in order to provide further evolution of that, this type of services like TrustHub are really important to keep the innovation level high.
Wow, amazing. So Katia, I want to come back to you on, you told me before the fireside chat session that you saw this big evolution, this sudden shift during COVID. So pre-COVID, post-COVID, what changed from your perspective in the industry?
Yeah, so I have been, as I said, been doing this for many years. So until COVID, the main parties impacted by fraud were telcos, and the main service being hit by fraud was voice, because it was the service that was carrying most of the revenues. So a fraud event in voice would bring the bad guys more money faster. What we saw with COVID is that obviously there was an acceleration in the digital adoption globally. And because this digital adoption brought also along an increase in the telco international transactions. So everybody was, for example, buying stuff over internet. So you get SMSs, you get phone calls to confirm your packet is arriving. I mean, you get a lot of exchanges, all fueled by these international communications. And we started to see that obviously the bad guys saw a very, very good opportunity in that, and they used it. So we started to see a big increase in fraud on SMS. So voice was still there, it didn't disappear, but since then we have seen it a little bit flattish, the fraud levels, but SMS fraud is the rising star, unfortunately. And that makes that the industry had a lot of time to learn about voice fraud, many years, and to adapt and to build protection and learn and create expertise. We don't have that time for SMS.
Right.
It started very quickly. There was not the right expertise. Still now there's a lack of knowledge on it. There need to be a lot of investments, but of course we all know that there are a number of business lines that are decreasing in terms of revenue, so it's difficult to invest a lot for some parties. And this is what we try to do at BICS, is to make sure that we can help our partners with that expertise that we have and maybe they lack, with the knowledge on fraud that we have been gathering over such a long time, and that we can bring it to them. Ievgen mentioned TrustHub in an easy way, in an easy manner that they can use with their own services, and that we can help actually the whole industry with it.
So if I understand well, did it help you to expand from the telco market initially to a broader range of enterprise segments for you as a business, as the opportunity,
absolutely.
the strategic opportunity?
Absolutely. As I said, really for the fraudsters, it doesn't matter that they are trying to impact a telco, MNO, a brand, an aggregator. They don't mind. There's no difference for them. Actually, the main target for them right now are individuals like you or me, because we are easier to divert from our usual habits. We are the weak link, really, in the whole ecosystem.
Interesting, very interesting. I want to dive deeper on that, but first I would like to go back to you, Ievgen. and that is, please explain how we as AWS have supported you with building TrustHub, and why did you, in the first place, why did you go with AWS on this? What mattered? What were the critical success factors?
So, good question. Good and easy for one for me, because obviously, as I explained in my role, it's one of the elements where I want to bring BICS much more closer to the clouds and be part of the ecosystem. TrustHub as an initiative has a very much SaaS nature, and initially, even before some big changes happened at BICS, in terms of the cloud adoption and team formation, the TrustHub was already in line, and it was already part of the AWS. That was an obvious choice to go for that scenario, taking the total addressable market that we wanted to achieve, and the position of a SaaS product, an API product, pure cloud native story, to have as a solution for that. So that's why right now, obviously, it's not a done deal. Why? Because there are basically 4 elements that still needs to take place, and I think it will be an evolution as well. To highlight the first one, it's obviously the well-architecture framework. You can't have a perfect scenario and live with that for the next 5 years, like in the previous CapEx scenarios. You need to constantly evolve and improve your solution based on the customer feedback. As well, in that part, another project that is also based as a foundation for the TrustHub is our change in the AP gateway management. So right now it's something that is also running on AWS, and those foundational API gateway management and TrustHub as a service on top of that, they need to coexist together. So that part is one element. Second element, it's less technical, but as well important. It's not only about the offering itself, but also the way we behave as a partner. So we whitelisted the product as part of the APN program, and in order to get the necessary support with our leads and opportunities, that's exactly how we can leverage the APN and Amazon infrastructure for that. We have plans to whitelist it on AWS Marketplace. Why? Because obviously it makes easier for the enterprises and buyers in general to have the single offering, private offering via the AWS Marketplace, which creates as well a very interesting opportunity for us. And right now it was basically about indeed cloud native offering, technicalities about the product, but what is also important as a fourth element, it's something, the ball is on our side, it's a shell of that, right? So how we deliver the product. So we're coming from a telco perspective. For SaaS products, API products like TrustHub, it is really important to follow the customer experience story and make sure that we are the company, which is easy to do business with. So, and that's also something we're building on top of that to make sure that every new opportunity that we'll have the shortest path, the less clicks as possible to get from the awareness to the acquisition and usage of the service in the easiest way.
Thank you, thank you. So if I summarize, it was basically the fact that you can leverage the AWS well-architected framework as best practices to build a cost-efficient solution and so forth, all the way to how you frictionlessly onboard your customers through the marketplace. Thank you for that.
Exactly.
Now, let's look at the bigger picture, Katia. You said something earlier that triggered me in terms of now also consumers are affected. That's you and me in essence. So it means that these are the calls that I sometimes get where I'm like, what is this? These spam calls. So what is I mean, you said it's an ecosystem problem now. Can you give us a bit more of how you see that playing out in the next years? And what is your role in that? What is the evolution of your role in that?
Yeah. So the telecommunications ecosystem, international ecosystem, is wide and has become much more complex. So a few years ago, everybody understands we had the mobile operators, we had a contract with them, and then you had intermediate players, hubs that would allow these different operators in different countries to connect. So that for example, BICS is one of them, and when we travel, we are able to call back home or to call friends, etc., etc. So, but this ecosystem has really become much more complex. We have obviously the operators, we still have the end users like us, but we have digital providers, we have brands, we have things. So we have many, many more elements in this ecosystem. And any ecosystem is as weak as the weakest link. So the strength is not the main element to be looking at, is who is the weakest link in the ecosystem. Mm-hmm. Operators, I said before, they have been learning how to protect on voice fraud. So fraudulent calls that were impacting them. But now this fraudulent activity, as I said, they are impacting end users. Why? Because the mass is bigger, because we are less well protected, less informed. We get calls, all of us, probably, that we don't know where it's coming from. We don't know the number. We pick it up, and then somebody will probably try to find out information about us, make us think they are the bank, they are our insurance company, state agency, trying to find information about ourselves or trying to get money directly. So there are two main goals to all of these scams. One is money that you can pay directly, or personal information that will translate into money later on for the criminals.
Thank you. That's great insight. Now, what I get from that is basically the key for you is to play in an ecosystem. And how can you serve that ecosystem, which means massive amount of complexity, probably tons more data that you have to analyze. So how do you look at AI, ML, and the evolution to Gen AI? Is that you have security top of mind every day. Is that important to start evaluating or looking at?
It's paramount, actually. I said there are intermediate parties. BICS is one of them. So, because the ecosystem has become so complex with so many different parties, they all have different types of data that we need to organize. We need to learn how to read, how to interpret. These big volumes of data, they cannot be treated manually for sure. And we are already now using AI, machine learning. And one of the things we want to start looking into with AWS is how to maybe move on to Gen AI. It doesn't mean that we're going to stop using what we already do now, because it works, but the amounts of data keep on growing. The nature of the activity keeps on evolving, so we need to find ways to better utilize all that.
Thank you for that. So I want to move into your role at the i3 Forum and also what you do there. You are one of the chairs there that helps also with this topic of fraud prevention. Can you give us a bit more insight on what is the i3 Forum and what do you do there in the forum for the ecosystem?
Yes, of course. So the i3 Forum is a non-for-profit, and this is important, members-driven organization, and it focuses on international telecoms activity or communications activity. Mm-hmm. We try to solve issues that cannot be solved by individual parties. And because fraud, as I said, is an ecosystem problem, one single party cannot really find the proper solution to it. So, of course, we have systems, we have expertise, we help our customers better protect, but it's an ecosystem problem. So we need to find ways of building business and driving business that does not allow for fraud to become a systemic problem.
And thanks for that. And I find it very exciting and interesting how you look at your role as BICS, being in this global ecosystem, but also look at how you can serve with, building the right best practices around that. Thank you for that, Katia. Now I want to move back to you, Ievgen. This journey started for you on AWS. You started with us for, I don't know, what year did you start with AWS, and what was the journey to come to where you are now?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Indeed, we started 2017 based on a very ad hoc request, to be honest, right? So the cloud was in the air. The AWS obviously is a company that are very well known, but it was one of the first requests when customers simply came and said, how can you support us with that type of the connectivity to AWS? And that's how first product and partnership was created. We more formalized it in 2018, where basically we became an official partner. There is a specific process that we had to follow. And also we became an Amazon Connect partner. So there, based on the way of working and opportunity as well, we clearly see new opportunities. And basically, I'm very happy that we are sitting here right now talking about the TrustHub, not really the infrastructure story, which is a really SaaS solution. At BICS as well, journey is very interesting. So I could compare it with, for those who knows the movie Transformers, when the Transformer turns into a sport car. That's exactly what we're going through right now. We know how things works for a good telco business. At the same time, we have projects where in 2023, for instance, which we did for the Packet Gateway, which is one of our platforms, for SBC, another platform, we also did the POCs, and we experimented and tested how this could work in a public cloud, right? So it's at one level. We also are playing right now with an experiment with Cloud WAN. We tried Transit Gateway, Direct Connect, obviously, as an infrastructure element. So you can see in that example of a transformer, we're really on a full stack, right? So we're in infrastructure, we're experimenting in platform level and also on the SaaS level. So it's a full scale on where we try to deliver services. Obviously, I mentioned right now those facts earlier about the customer journey that is extremely important, and also leveraging not only technicalities but the APN and AWS marketplace. Part of the thing I want to highlight as well is the training and learning experience, because it's nice to be the advocate for something and see the value. At the same time, that value and understanding has to go across the company. And just as a reference, for 2024, we intend to increase the number of certified individuals in our company by 300%.
Wow.
So it's a very ambitious story, many questions, why, how, and that's a very, it's an interesting path. So, and what I want to emphasize as well is that it's not only the engineering story. It used to be, we have already engineers for many years, but also in finance, in legal, in marketing, throughout the company, in a product management, to understand what that ecosystem is, and that it's not only the acronyms and words, but it's something that people feel as a reality and can use and leverage for benefits of their product or the way of working what they do. So I also want to say we have a very interesting transversal team. So to support our product team and our engineering team, we're playing the role of a bridge where we try to explain, I would call it the cloud etiquette. So for things like TrustHub, it is not only important to deliver the technical value, it's also important to come up in a way like an etiquette, how this needs to be delivered to developers, right? And holistically as a company. So that's really important. And obviously we ride the same wave with the management. They have a great support. BICS Exco is really supporting our initiative, and they are with us. So that's another opportunity to be tied together and
executive
go
support.
Exactly, to have executive support and really support this type of initiatives. That's one of the results as well.
Beautiful. So enablement of people across all different types of roles so that they can evolve as well, and then also the executive support. So, I mean, I started this journey with you 8 months ago, where we looked more at how can we consolidate all of that ad hoc initiatives into a strategic driven engagement. And that's where we are today. We've defined the key objectives, and one of them was indeed also how do we skill up people at scale. Now, I want to start wrapping it up, the session. So do you want to share some final thoughts on your vision for the future? Please, Katia.
I have one key word, and that is collaboration, actually. We are doing this at BICS from two different angles that I mentioned. One is through the services that we provide. We try to help all the existing customers and the non-existing customers by leveraging on the intelligence, the information, the holistic view that we have, and that probably many others do not have. So that is how we collaborate with our peers. And on the other hand, as I mentioned, of course, collaborating with the industry as a whole, regulators, businesses, individuals, everybody, through the i3 Forum initiatives. And we are also part of other industry bodies. So there are these two different angles where it's full on the industry, and then another one where we go a little bit more concrete by serving our customers and maybe non-existing customers yet with our view of things.
Thank you, Katia. Ievgen.
Yeah, I will follow the narrative of Katia on collaboration. So if you want to build something small and fast, maybe do it yourself. That's how you're going to get a result. If you want to build something big, you need to collaborate. So it's an amazing opportunity for BICS to collaborate together with AWS. And I personally want to thank you for those, indeed, like you mentioned, 6-8 months where we strategically put the focus and aligned where we are going to, which initiatives. And your great support is really one of the elements of success over here. So very much looking forward into that. Clearly, there is a lot of hard work ahead. Right, but it's an interesting hard work. So you're definitely not gonna get a burnout just because you work with a very enthusiastic, extremely smart and interesting projects and people. So that's what is looking ahead, looking forward into it. We know how it works for the last 20 years in telco. It's a great opportunity right now to recalibrate ourselves and be part of the ecosystem together. So yeah, looking forward and a lot of fun. That's something I'm looking for
exactly.
as well.
We like
that. I would like to add
to
that, because I didn't say it, but I fully agree with Ievgen. It's a real pleasure to work with you. We don't know each other as much because Ievgen is the main contact point, but real pleasure, and I'm sure we are going to keep on doing this good.
I'm very honored. Thank you very much. I think the big thing is to have fun as well when we co-create and invent new things. So I'm very honored that we could have this chat here at Mobile WorldCom. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.